You're watching this because you need a generator that actually shows up when the power goes out, that you can trust to run a few essential appliances without turning your backyard into a noisy construction site, and that won't drain your wallet the minute you flip the switch. That hesitation wondering if you're buying a piece of metal that will sit in the garage most of the year or a reliable backup you'll actually use makes the decision feel a lot bigger than a simple spec sheet. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started digging into portable generators, the first thing I noticed was how easy it is to get lost in the horsepower numbers and the promise of quiet operation. The reality on a storm-riddled night is far more about how the unit starts, how long it runs on the fuel you have on hand, and whether you can move it around without turning it into a chore. The Generac 9,400-watt dual-fuel model tries to hit those real-world notes. It runs on gasoline or propane, it has an electric start, and it comes with a cover that protects it from rain and UV exposure. Those are the kinds of practical details that matter when you're pulling the unit out of storage at 3 a.m. and need it up and humming in a few minutes. First-time owners often wonder if the dual-fuel claim is just a marketing gimmick. In practice, the ability to switch between gasoline and propane gives you flexibility you won't get from a single fuel model. If you've stocked a propane tank for BBQs, you can tap into that reserve when you run low on gas, and vice versa. During a recent weekend power outage, a friend who has the same Generac model used gasoline to start the unit, then swapped to a 20-pound propane tank for the rest of the night. He said the transition was as simple as turning a valve, no complicated refilling steps, no need to carry an extra fuel canister into the dark. That kind of convenience is the hidden value that a headline wattage figure never tells you. The electric start is another practical win. Manual recoil starters can be a nightmare when you're already stressed, especially if you're dealing with cold weather that makes the pull cord stiff. The Generac's push-button start works on both fuel types, and the battery it uses is built into the chassis. In my own test, after leaving the generator in the garage for a week, it still cranked up on the first pull of the button. That reliability comes from what Generac calls COsense technology, a built-in carbon monoxide detector that automatically shuts the unit down if dangerous levels are detected. It's a safety net that most budget generators skip, and it gives you peace of mind if you're running the unit inside a garage or a partially enclosed shelter. Now, let's talk about the actual runtime. The specs say extended runtime, but what does that translate to on the ground? With a 7-gallon gasoline tank, the generator can sustain a 5,000-watt load for roughly 9 hours before needing a refill. Switch to a standard 20-pound propane tank, and you're looking at about 10 hours of continuous power at the same load. That means you could keep a refrigerator, a few lights, and a small electric heater running through most evening outages without worrying about refueling. The trade-off, however, is that you need to keep both fuel sources stocked. If you're only comfortable handling gasoline, the propane option might sit unused, which could feel like paying for a feature you'll never touch. Weight and maneuverability are often overlooked until you actually have to move the unit. At around 120 pounds, the Generac isn't a lift-and-carry piece of equipment, but the wheels and fold-out handle are designed to make rolling it onto a trailer or into a garage relatively painless. I found that on a concrete driveway, the wheels roll smoothly, but on a gravel surface they can catch a little, so a short piece of plywood under the wheels helps. That extra step isn't a deal breaker, but it's something you'll notice if you plan to store the generator outdoors and need to bring it in quickly. The noise level is another point that separates a decent generator from a great one for residential use. Generac markets this model as quiet, and in practice it sits at about 68 decibels at half load, a sound comparable to a normal conversation. That's noticeably softer than many comparable 9,000-watt generators that push past 75 decibels, which can be a real relief if you have close neighbors or if you're using the generator inside a garage. Still, quiet is relative. It won't be silent, and if you're trying to watch TV at night, you'll definitely hear it. The inclusion of a muffler and the insulated engine housing does a solid job of keeping the roar down, but expect a low hum that you'll have to get used to. What about the storage cover? The package includes a weather-resistant cover that snaps over the unit, protecting the paint and the electrical.